guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melina. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. If you clicked on this video, then you're probably wondering the steps, either one, how to buy a house just in general, or two, how we started real estate investing. So we're just gonna run you through how to buy a house real quick first, because I think that we and me have had a lot of questions from like our friends and just people in general who don't know where to get started with buying a house. It can be a very daunting task, especially if you don't know what the shit you're doing. So we're gonna get into that, and then a little bit later we're gonna get into how we started real estate investing. Most of you probably know by now, if you follow me on Instagram, that my sister's husband started real estate investing years ago, and that's kind of how Matt and I got into it. Obviously Matt's a lot better at it than I am, but Yvonne pretty much taught us everything we know. This is gonna be a two-part series. So the first is going to be how Matt and I pretty much bought our first 3 houses. We have a contract down on another house. We haven't moved in yet, but we're gonna be moving in at the end of this month. So basically our experience, how we did it, how we got to house 3, and then when I'm in Orlando next week, I'm gonna be with Yvonne, and he's gonna kind of take us on how he took real estate and turned it into an actual company and went from like 3 houses to like 32 properties now. Definitely didn't mention, but this is my fiance. You guys probably know that by now. This is Matt.
Hello.
That's really all there is that you need to know. Okay, I think a good place to start when you're looking to just buy a house is to know your budget, how much you're willing to spend, and what your market is looking like. So in St. Louis, it's a lot cheaper to buy a house than it is in Minnesota. And
certain areas, certain parts of St. Louis.
Right, okay, yeah. So location is everything. Also, if you're trying to rent properties, location is everything.
The first what you want to do is just figure out what exactly you want to do when it comes to real estate, whether you're wanting to just buy your first starter house and see how it goes, something that you can fix up and get some equity in. That way you can sell it off to buy your forever home. If you're wanting to get into actual investing, whether it be rental houses, fix and flips, wholesaling, you got to figure out what you want to do before you even start looking at anything else and trying to game plan where you're going to go from there.
And so when you're trying to figure out what your budget is, try to think about what you're willing to pay monthly, what you can afford to pay monthly. So is that $400, is that $500, is that $600 a month? Then once you figure out how much you can pay monthly, then think about how much you'll be able to save or how much you'll be able to put down on a house. Because the reality of it is, obviously, you're not just going to be paying monthly, you're going to have some sort of down payment. We're gonna get to that in a second. But you need to kind of figure out how much you can set aside, how much you can save, and how much you can come up with for an actual down payment. Also, real quick, when you are determining your budget, also take into consideration how much your utilities are going to be. So if you're looking at a really old house, you need to understand that you're going to be paying up the ass in heat or electric or gas or something like that. So make sure you're taking into consideration everything that you're going to be paying for, so that when you do get this house, it's not all of a sudden a scare that your utilities are crazy high and then you're also paying for your mortgage on top of that.
So once you decided kind of what you want to do and what route you want to go in real estate, whether it's just buying a starter home, first thing you need to do is get pre-approved for a loan. It's a pretty easy process. You can do it online. Do your research, find a good mortgage broker. I personally don't recommend going directly to a bank or directly to a lender. We found a really good mortgage broker. She's been super helpful with everything, explaining all of our options.
Can they just Google that? Just Google like mortgage broker in your city, or how do you find a mortgage broker?
Yeah, I mean you can look online, do your research. There's going to be people that have reviews and stuff like that. St. Louis area, we use Molly Sullivan. She's been great.
Molly Sullivan, check her out.
And she explains basically all the ins and outs of the loan process that I don't understand. She breaks it all down for me, so it's easier for me to understand, so I can make a decision. So finding a good mortgage broker, that's going to be key to starting this process out, getting pre-approved, making sure that you have everything you need in place to make the loan process easy whenever you decide to make an offer on a house.
That's a good point too. You don't need to know everything. Just find that mortgage broker and they will help walk you through everything. So even if you contact someone and you're like, hey, this is my first time buying a house, I don't know where the hell to start, they will basically just shovel you the forms and what you're supposed to do from there.
Next thing you want to do is you want to find a good real estate agent. If that's just going to help make it easier to find the house that you want. You can do your online searching, which is what I typically do whenever I know that I'm getting ready to buy a house. Within the next couple months, I'm always on Zillow looking at what the market's like, looking what I can afford, looking what areas are hot, looking what areas are up and coming. But that's because we're doing the rental property thing. So we want to find areas where we can get a house for a good price and still make a profit by renting it out. Now, real estate agent, you can give them everything that you're looking for in a house, and they can give you weekly listings and weekly, emails of houses that kind of fit the parameters of what you want. If doing the research on your own isn't really your thing, or you don't really know how to look or what to look at.
Yeah, if you don't want to even have to look, they will do that portion for you. That's what they're there for. We'll get into it more, but obviously for our thing, for real estate investing, in order to get the best deal, you got to be consistently looking all the time. But if you're just buying your first house, if you just want to give that whole chore to the real estate agent, they are more than happy to keep looking for you.
And just like a mortgage broker, the real estate agent's going to explain some of the ins and outs. They're going to be able to explain things about the particular house that may not be upfront when you're looking on your own. There might be certain things that aren't listed on the house listing that your average person can't see, but your real estate agent can see, and he can kind of guide you in the right direction, he or she, to make the right decision to make sure that you're getting the best possible house that you can get.
Okay, next you have to determine what kind of loan you're going to use. I'll let him explain a little more, but what I've learned from Yvonne and from Matt, and one of the first things that Yvonne always told me was use your FHA loan, which is your first time home buyer's loan. I don't know what FHA stands for, but it's your first home, first buyer, that's your loan, that's what you want to use, FHA. Because for the most part, once you buy your first home, if you don't use your FHA loan, you lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it. And there's little things around it, like moving and whatnot, but for the most part, if you don't use it, you're just not gonna ever be able to use it. And he'll explain why it's good to use.
There's a lot of different types of loan types. You have, your main two that most people see when they're looking at buying a house for the first time is your FHA loan or conventional loan. There's a lot of differences between the two, but a lot of similarities. FHA, it's a federally backed loan, so it can make things a little bit easier for people who otherwise might have a harder time getting a loan for a house. You can have lower credit scores, you have a lower down payment, 3.5% down payment, while as conventional, you're paying anywhere from 5 to 20% down, so that can be a lot of money out of pocket. Whereas with that 3.5% down, it makes buying your first home a lot more affordable.
A lot
easier.
Because you're
not paying as much out of pocket. Veterans, our first house, I'm a veteran, so you have VA loans, which with that you're paying no down payment. You'll be paying out of pocket for closing costs and stuff like that unless you work that into the contract. That's a whole nother game. But there's a lot of different types of loans out there. FHA is very promising because if your budget's tight and you find an older house that you like but it needs a little bit of work, there's a 203K option on it. What the 203K option is you can build money into the loan that will fund a renovation project for the house. So say you find the perfect house, you love it, but the kitchen's from 1980 something and it's ugly, or it's got shag carpet or something that you just don't like, but you can't afford out of pocket to pay for it. You can build that into the loan. So FHA is good for buying your first house because, like I said, you have a lower down payment. You're going to get good interest rates. That's a big misconception, is people think that they're going to get lower interest rates with the conventional loan, and that's not true at all. We use an FHA loan for our second home. We got a really great interest rate on that. That also comes with having a good mortgage broker. They're going to find you the best rates possible. The 203K option is a great option for somebody buying their first house, whether you're investing or just buying a starter house, because what you can do with that is take a house that is a little bit underpriced just because it needs a little bit of work, but you put that money into it, and 5-10 years down the line, when you're ready to upgrade to a bigger house, a nicer house, you're already going to have equity in the house. So when you sell that house, you're going to have money that you're going to be able to transfer over, to make a down payment on a larger house and more expensive loan. So there's a lot of different loan options, and again, that's why it's key to get a good mortgage broker, because they're going to be able to explain all the ins and outs of everything. They're going to be able to break it down, for each property, once you find a house you want to make an offer on, they can show you all the differences in each loan option and break it down for you and explain so you can make the best possible decision. Because just because FHA has worked well for us, it might not work well for everybody. Everybody else's situation is different. So, but there is a lot of good options out there.
I'm a very numbers based / need to see I need a summary breakdown of things that just got said. So in a nutshell, if you're buying your first house, typically if you're not trying to spice it up at all, if you're literally just trying to move in as is, just buying the first house, you're probably gonna go with either an FHA loan or a conventional loan. Within those two loans, FHA loan is a 3.5% down payment, and a conventional loan is 5% to 20%. So I'm gonna put those in numbers for you, because to me, when I hear that doesn't mean shit to me until someone gives me a cost. So, okay, so I'm just gonna put this in actual prices for you. So let's say you find a $150,000 house that you love, and you're like, okay, this is what we want. Now we gotta find out what loan we're gonna use. If you are gonna go with an FHA loan, that's 3.5% down for your down payment. That down payment is going to be $5,250. Now, if you're gonna use a conventional loan, it could be anywhere from 5% to 20%, depending on a lot of things. If you have bad credit, your percentage is gonna be up higher. So 5%, the very minimum of a conventional loan, is gonna be $7,500. So with that 3.5% for the FHA was $5,250. With the conventional, you're already jumping to $7,500 for just 5%. And that's if you're at 5% on your conventional loan. Like I said, that can go all the way up to 20%, and now you're looking at $30,000. Am I doing that math right? Is that what it would be?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's something crazy, okay?
Yeah, about 30,000.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right, it's a lot. So I mean, that's kind of why we've always stuck with the FHA loan for our first loan, because that down payment can kill you. That's why also I want to stress, if you haven't learned how to save, learn how to save now. And I know that sounds so elementary and so stupid, but before I met Matt, saving was not a word in my vocabulary. Who the fuck has time to save? Not me. I had to learn how to save really quick, because it's not just him that's in this, it's the both of us. And like you see, it's gonna take usually between $3,000, $5,000, $7,000 to put down on your house.
The difference between the FHA and conventional loan is that, well, on both of them, unless with conventional, if you have 80% loan to value of the home, you're going to be paying PMI, which is mortgage insurance. Basically, that's an additional amount that is going to be worked into your monthly mortgage. It could be anywhere from 80 to 150 to 200, depending on the value of the house, that you're paying along with the mortgage cost, your principal and interest of the mortgage, and your homeowner's insurance. Now with conventional, once you get to an 80% loan to value, meaning the amount of the loan is below 80% of the value of the home. Let's say your home is worth $200,000 and all you have left on the loan is $150,000. With conventional, you no longer have to pay PMI on that. FHA, you're still going to be paying PMI no matter what. Now, that's where it can get a little bit more complex down the line. You can look at refinancing. There's a lot of options for that, but we're not going to get into all that right now.
Once you kind of work through your logistics on how much you're willing to spend, the cost of your house, location, you find your house, you have your money, your mortgage broker, and your real estate agent. Basically from there, they kind of bring you through the process, and I don't want to say smooth sailing, but kind of. He can speak more to that.
All right, so kind of just a quick rundown, very basic explanation
Step by step.
of how to start from start to beginning. You make a decision, you want to buy the house, you figure out what you want to do. You get your pre-approval letter. A lot of times houses don't even want to let people look at the house unless they have a pre-approval letter, or even make an offer on it. So you always want to have that to start out with. You talk to your real estate agent, you do the searches, you find the houses you want, you go look at the houses, you find the perfect house, now you want to make an offer. Depending on the market where you live, depending on how bad you want the house, you can lowball it or give a full price offer. So there might be some negotiations, and that's going to be a lot of your realtor dealing with their realtor.
And we have never offered full price right off the bat.
No.
We always lowball, and if they're like, no, fuck that, you know, then we'll go from there. But I mean, I think we would say advice would be never offer the amount right off the bat, because we've gotten very lucky with our houses. People just desperate to get rid
I
of them.
wouldn't say that, because if you really find a house that you love, and if you're
Right,
not,
I'm sorry, I'm talking more real estate, I guess, but keep going.
if you really find a house that you love, you know, some of these houses go really fast on the market, especially if it's a
Yeah.
hot area. Houses
True.
aren't going to last long. You know, there's been houses that I found that,
Oh my God,
you know,
taken.
I called my guy, it was listed that day. I said, hey, let's schedule a showing. I want to go look at this house. Later that night I hear, it's already under contract.
Ripped out from underneath us.
So,
You don't understand how devastating it is sometimes.
If you really want a house and you feel like that house is worth it, jump on it right away. You know,
Yeah.
don't be afraid
All right,
to give a
fuck
full
me.
price offer. You know, and a lot of sellers they'll you know, they know how to play the game. Sometimes they'll list it low, knowing that they're going to have a lot of offers coming in, and those offers are going to drive up well above what their asking price is, just because people want that house that bad. So again, like I said, there might be a negotiation process where basically, you know, you're writing out your realtor's writing out contracts for you. You know, you might go back and forth. You know, you might offer 10 grand below. They'll say, okay, we'll do 3 grand below, and you guys meet somewhere in the middle, maybe 5 grand below asking price, and everybody's happy. Everyone agrees on it. Then you are now under contract on a house. That's when the loan process starts. The house inspection process starts. Essentially, your realtor should set up a home inspection for you, where a building inspector will come through, basically take a look, and they're really nitpicky, you know, and it's their jobs, and that's what they're there to do, to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. You know, when you're going through a walkthrough after a home inspection, the home inspection could take 2 hours, and it's going to take you a half hour, 45 minutes for them to show you everything that they found. But that's what you want. That's what you want to know.
The realtor will tell you when it's time for that. Like that is something,
They'll take care
again,
of all the scheduling and
they'll
everything like that.
literally walk you through all of this. You're not going to have to remember, oh shit, I got to schedule the inspection too. Like, that's what they're there for. Don't panic.
So once you go through the home inspection, you do the walkthrough with the inspector. They'll show you everything that they found that's wrong. And they'll even type up a very detailed report and what their recommendations are to remedy these problems that they found in the house. They're not going to tell you what you should go back to their sellers with. They're just going to tell you everything that they found that's, you know, makes that house not a 100% perfect house. It's up to you and your realtor, and you guys can kind of work things out. Now, when you do that home inspection, there's going to be a lot of things, even if it's a really nice house, and you're not going to come to an agreement with the seller to fix literally everything that the home inspector finds. Some of those things might be very minor that don't need attention right away, that you might be able to fix, you know, later on down the road, a year or two after living in the house. So don't go into it thinking, oh, I got to get all this stuff fixed right away. Pick out the important things, the things that are going to make a difference for while you're in that house, living in that house, or somebody's living in that house.
Your realtor will help you.
And then basically send that list back to the sellers and say, okay, we want these repairs done. That's, again, it's going to be a slight negotiation process. They might say, okay, we'll do A, B, and C, but not D and E, and we'll also do F. It's going to be up to you, you know, what you feel comfortable with, if you want to accept that or walk away from the contract.
Or we've had old outlets in houses that we wanted to buy, and something we put in there, a stipulation was replace the outlets. So
after you get that list, you might come to an agreement with the sellers that, okay, they're going to make the repairs that you want and you feel comfortable with it. You know, all the while your mortgage broker and, you know, the lenders, they're going to be working on the underwriting process of the loan, basically going through and nitpicking every little thing about your credit, your, you know, debt to income ratio, all these little things that are going to determine whether or not you're a high risk or low risk for a loan, and whether or not they're going to approve you. That's kind of a lengthy process. There's going to be situations where they'll ask for more information from you. You might have to explain certain things.
It's gonna be a long one. It's gonna be a long one.
You know, if you've had recent credit inquiries, you're going to have to explain to them what that was for. You know, one of the houses that we were buying, I had to do a federal background check for my job, so they did a hard credit inquiry for me. So I kind of had to explain to them why that was on my credit report. So just little things like that. So you got the inspection done, you got the repairs requested, everybody's agreed, everybody's happy. They get to work on making those repairs, so you're gonna have a tentative closing date for when everybody's expected to close and make this contract final and make this sale happen. Once the underwriting is done, your mortgage broker will contact you saying you're clear to close. That means you're good, you're pretty much 100% approved for that loan. Everything's good to go. They're gonna start getting the paperwork to get ready. They're gonna get everything together. You're gonna have a set date and time where you're gonna go either to your mortgage broker or your realtor's office, and you're gonna sign all the paperwork, and it's gonna take a long time. It's a lot of signatures. You're gonna bring all your cash to close. That's gonna be, your down payment, whatever's left in closing costs. If you didn't work any closing costs into the contract, I always recommend working closing costs into that contract, because if that seller is making money, make them pay all the fees for all the administrative stuff for the realtors and the mortgage companies
For
and
sure.
everything like that. You might not make them pay all of it, but a good portion of it, since they're already making money on it anyways, because you're already paying a lot out of pocket.
Again, your realtor will help you with that. Make sure to ask them about that, because you don't want to be surprised when you go to close and you've got hella fees that you didn't know were coming.
So after that, you get clear to close. Like I said, you're going to go there, you're going to sign the paperwork, and once you walk out of there, you're going to have the keys to the house, and you're a new homeowner.
Woo! Timeline. So from start to finish, once you find that house and you decide, I'm putting an offer on that house, it takes about...
It can take anywhere from a month to 2 months, possibly longer, depending on
2 months
depending on what you're
longer.
going to do. Like I said, the 2 or 3K option, it's definitely going to take longer. There's a lot of little things that are going to go into it that's going to make it kind of a little bit drawn out.
Just know it's going to take a while, and especially if it's your first time, they may be requesting a lot of different information from you, and you're gonna have to go find that information and then send it back. So this is not a quick process. It's gonna be a while.
All right, so now that you kind of understand, the process, hopefully I've kind of explained it a little bit, how it works, at least how it's worked for us, these first 3 houses. It's just kind of very simplified explanation of how it works. There's so much that goes into it. But now this is kind of more for if you decide that you want to actually get into the investing side of real estate.
Yeah, so this is the investing portion of things.
First things first, don't go into it blind. Do a lot of research, talk to people. Like she said, I kind of never really had a thought in my mind to get, into real estate investing until I started talking to Yvonne, and he kind of explained to me how easy it is to make extra income through real estate. And basically to make the things you own, make money for you, which is you're going to have a place to live in. You're going to have houses throughout your life. So you might as well make those necessities work for you and make you money. And like I said, do a lot of research. I did a lot of research on my own before I even made the decision that this is something I wanted to do. I wanted to look into, is this something that I want to turn into an eventual career, or is this something I want to do on the side just to make extra money, have a little bit extra retirement down the line? There's a lot of different factors that can go into it, but do your research, talk to people. Don't go into it blind thinking, okay, I'm going to become this big real estate investor, and and this is going to be super easy, because it's not. And there's also a lot of behind the scenes things, and when it comes to the investing world, that I have no clue about. That your average person is not going to have a clue about. There's different options for real estate investing than there are for just your typical, home buyer, especially once you start getting into networking and getting to learn the market a little bit.
Like he said, don't just go into it blind. I mean, we can't stress that enough. There's so many things that you can do, that you can read, that you can listen to, that'll help you kind of understand a little bit more. Before I met him, and before I knew that I had somebody that was going to do this with me. When Yvonne first started getting into this, we were always listening to a podcast. It's called Bigger Pockets. I'll link it down below. That, if you start on episode 1 and you just gradually get into it, that is actually a really good podcast, especially for somebody like me who knew nothing about buying a house, knew nothing about anything like that. I also love podcasts, and so just listen to it while you're driving. It'll help you understand things a lot more clear and in detail, and you can skip through a lot of different episodes, because they cover everything. But if you're looking for a good podcast that kind of breaks it down and kind of helps you learn a little bit, I would suggest listening to Bigger Pockets. Yvonne also has a blog on Vested Interest, which is his company, where he kind of breaks down how he bought some of his houses. So I'll also link his blog below as well. Feel free to DM him on Instagram. I'm gonna put his handle right here. He is more than happy to have a phone call, to have a text, to text or DM or whatever with anybody who's interested in learning, because he's very passionate about it. But like I said, this next video, I'm gonna have him talking further detail about his company and how he grew it from there and whatnot.
So, once you do your research and think that this is something that, you can get into, you have the assets to get into it, you have the mindset, you have the people that are gonna help you along the way, set some goals, set some goals for what you wanna do when it comes to real estate. Us personally, I like it. It's a fun thing to do on the side. It's not something I want to turn into my living. I like what I do for work a little bit more than real estate investing, but it is fun to do on the side for me. So this is just something I'm doing to make some extra money for us, so we can, set ourselves up for success for the future. We set the goal of 5 houses in 5 years. That was our initial goal for what we wanted to accomplish when we got into this. We're well ahead of the goal. We're getting ready to close on our 3rd house in 2 years. So, that's kind of giving us a little extra leeway, and it's also kind of lighting the fire up a little bit more to set some new goals and, push ourselves a little bit farther when it comes to this stuff.
I want a real quick touch point on this, but we're going to get more into this in Yvonne's segment, just because he's really good at finding funding and figuring out how you're going to pay for your next house. But with us, I mean, we pretty much did it organically. So like I said, saving was a huge deal for us. So of course, saving for your first house is always the hardest, because you get that. Actually, probably saving for your second house is the hardest, because that's the one that you really, you're already living your life and you got to save for an additional house on top of that. Once you get that second house under your belt and you start making that additional income on top of that,
regardless of what you do, whether or not you fix it up, you flipped it, you sold it for a profit, you're gonna have that money in pocket, for your next house. Or if you're renting it out, you should be renting it out to where you're actually making money monthly on that house. You're gonna be able to put extra money away every month, and you're gonna be able to save for that next project.
So keep in mind that second house will probably be the hardest to get, just because you're no longer just paying for one house, now you're trying to get to 2. But once you get that second house and you're making that money from it, then it'll get easier from there. But with that being said, now again, this is me being irresponsible, shitty Melina. In my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, now we're generating all this income. We're gonna have so much more money. That's where you go wrong, and that's where shit can get crazy real quick. So basically, I've never seen that money. That money isn't a thing to me, because it doesn't even exist in my mind. Because what it does is it just goes right into the account to the next house, and that is exactly what you have to do, or else you will not be successful in this.
And I mean, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you really want to make money in the long term, you got to be smart about how you're using this money. And you can use that extra money for things that come up if you need to.
There's going to be plumbing / repairs / shit that comes up from the other house. You got to take that into consideration as well.
But make sure you're moving that money forward into a future investment, and not just saying, oh, we got extra money now, great. Now we can buy more things and go on more trips and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Do those things here and there, but don't go crazy.
Exactly. And also take into consideration that eventually you will be able to do those things, but you're never going to get there unless you just chill now.
Like I said, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right. Okay, ladies, one of the things that you're really going to have to grasp on this, that if you're going into, even if you're going into this alone, either if it's with a significant other or by yourself, what you need to understand is you're not buying these properties that you are going to absolutely love. You're probably going to buy something that's too small for you. You're probably going to buy something that maybe he's fixing up. You may be living in a construction zone for a while, but it's all about the commitment and seeing what it's going to be in the future. I mean, I'm 28, so I have a lot of friends, a lot of people around me that are buying their forever homes right now, and they're making their cute little closets and their offices and their cute things, you know what I mean? And while you're trying to real estate invest and you're buying that house to house and because for the first however many you have to live in them. Like you have to stay in it for I think a year, right?
Yes.
You have to stay in that house for a year.
If it's FHA, if it's federally backed loan.
If it's
FHA,
FHA.
VA.
Right. So you have to be living in these houses, and you're never going to get anywhere if you're buying the most expensive house. You are trying to buy the cheapest house you can find for the best return on investment.
You're not buying it for if it's gonna make you happy. If you find a house that you love, that's gonna make you money in some way or another, then
you're lucky as shit.
Great. Our first house, we actually loved that house.
Yeah, we did love that house.
But, don't make it out to be that you're buying something that's going to make you happy. You got to look at it that you're buying something that you're going to make money because it makes somebody else very happy. Whether that's a great rental property that you're putting on the market, whether you're taking an old house that has great potential and you're fixing it up into somebody's dream home. You got to look at it as that this is going to make you money. You might not be happy living in it right then, but, you'll get to a point to where you keep doing this, down the road, you're going to be able to build or, design whatever your dream house, and you're going to have that eventually. It's really kind of all about what you want to do and how far you want to take it.
You know what I mean?
There has been times where, especially looking at houses, that I'll show a house to Melina, and it kind of got to a point where I stopped showing her the houses I was looking at because I'm like...
Because I would literally do this.
And I'd have to say, it's not about you. I'm sorry.
And honestly, I just got to a point where I trust him, and I know it's not a forever home, and it's just going to be temporary, and it is what it is, so.
By no means am I an expert on all this stuff. This is just kind of the stuff that I've learned in the beginning process of all this throughout the first couple houses that we've gone through. I'm kind of learning as I go, and really, honestly, me personally, that's the best way for me to learn, is to learn by doing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can read a bunch of books and know way more about me than real estate in a month or two, but I just learn by doing. So I'm kind of learning as I go. Listening to things that Yvonne has learned, throughout his process when he started out, has kind of guided me in the right direction. The little mistakes that he made, he told me about. I kind of take those and keep those in mind when I'm going through my processes, and hopefully this is kind of something similar that I can do for all of you by giving a beginner's explanation of how this has all worked for us.
I mean, you're never going to know anything, and you're never going to get anywhere if you don't take a risk, so you might as well just do it. So we're going to get a lot more into actual real estate investment in Yvonne's segment, just because I feel like there's a lot more that he can cover in depth. That's just kind of our experience. Basically, it's really just buying one house after the other. But if there are a few tips that you should take away from this when you are transitioning from just buying a house and going into real estate investing, is probably make sure you're constantly looking. Look on Zillow. Don't stop. He's on there every single day.
We're under contract in the house, and I'm still looking.
And yeah, he's constantly looking, because that's just how it is. That's how the market is. And not only that, if you see something that you like, jump on it and don't wait, because the market's crazy nowadays, and like we were talking about before, shit will just disappear out of nowhere. And so if you hesitate, someone else is gonna grab it, because as much as real estate is like a new thing, it's also a very popular thing at this point, and more people are getting into it. So if you see a good deal, you can't hesitate. You gotta just go for it. So those are just our tips and tricks. Obviously, most of them come from him, but I'm here too. It's a joint effort. It's definitely teamwork, okay? It's not just him. But once again, thank you so much for watching, you guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Like I said, there's gonna be a part 2 coming with Yvonne. We're gonna get a little bit more in depth with actual real estate investing, turning it into a company, really growing from just a few properties to a lot more. I hope you like this. Make sure to subscribe. Literally, I need it. Hit the bell for post notifications. Follow me on all my social medias, and put my handle right here. If this is your first video that you're watching, I usually do a lot more actually random lifestyle, fashion, all of the above. So check out the rest of my stuff, because this isn't just it. So once again, thanks for stopping by, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great night. No, I know, it's been a long time we're not paying attention to you. Okay, alright, so we're moving on. Anyways.
This is not...
Oh, I'm not staying on track.
No.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh, this one's way better. Was that weird? Thanks, baby.